So this is something you hear it all the time. You hear it talked about in school, and this is the crux of a lot of these new laws, of pronoun laws, of compelled language. But you don't generally hear about the dark history of this concept, and it's pretty recent. French existentialism is where it came from. It was a woman named Simone de Beauvoir. I think it was, let me bring it up right here. Yeah, 1949. Who famously said one is not born, but rather becomes woman. Her book is The Second Sex. You can go read it. Now, here's something that's important. It was a theory. This is where it started, kind of the philosophy of gender as a social construct, but it was still within this idea, the binary concept, that you could be raised male or female, and that was the concept. It wasn't tested. It was a hypothesis that maybe it's socially conditioned. Now, here is what you learn in college. Here's what all of the modern gender books are based on. It comes after Simone de Beauvoir. This goes to sexologist, psychologist John Money. Took this one step further, tested the hypothesis in the 50s and 60s. And this is his hypothesis that he tested, which was based on Simone de Beauvoir, was sex was biological, gender could be socially conditioned. Okay, so he tried to test this theory on a baby boy. Baby boy named David Reimer. You probably read about this in college. Lost his penis in a botched circumcision attempt. Here's a clip to give you more context.
It is also the story of the psychologist who treated him. A man with a radical theory about what makes us male and female, masculine and feminine.
He's brilliant. I think John is a brilliant man. I think he's one of the handful of most brilliant people I've ever met.
Together, they helped form one of the most famous theories in the history of modern psychology, that a boy, any boy, could be raised as a girl.
Okay, and this was something that was touted as a tremendous success, right? Removed David's testicles, raised him as a girl. So the treatment that people don't understand, right? This kid had a twin brother. Yeah. That's also important. So the idea was taking twins. This is the famous twin study you've probably heard to it referred. One raised boy, one raised girl. Right. Twin boys. Treatment, social conditioning and then it was considered success and taught in college. What they don't tell you is that actually a part of the treatment was having children assume sexual positions to reinforce their gender roles. Money even took pictures of them doing that.
Well, people normally get put in jail for that today?
You would think so. Or in this case,
they don't really get a book deal?
You get your own subgenre of studies.
See, there you go, yeah. We're just going about this all wrong, aren't we?
The BuzzFeed Boldly ladies talk about it. So he published the papers, right, on David's case as proof. Gender was a social construct. Yeah. And it was celebrated all across academia. Again, this is the crux of the modern gender/sex delineation here. We're separating gender and sex because of the twin study from John Money. The problem is that David, we'll get to in a second, he didn't feel like he was a girl.
Right.
And he actually began living as a boy around 15 years old, when the true history of what had happened to him, the child abuse, as some of us referred to, but we lose our speaking gigs like me and Owen Benjamin, the child abuse was revealed to him. He started living as a boy.
I had Barbie dolls, clothing, but my brother was very generous. There's the odd day when he let me borrow his toys. We would play together. Because he knew how unhappy I was, so he let me play with his toys.
For Brenda, this was the first time in her life she started to feel happy. She said she wanted to be a boy.
So I said, okay, are you sure? Because there's no going back after. And he said, yes, he said, yes, I am sure that is what I want to do.
Okay.
Shedding the female persona of Brenda he was forced to portray.
Let's cut that. This might be confusing. If you're sure you want to go back. What they mean go back is he was a boy, and then the guy had him being humped by his brother to tell him that he was a girl, and then they said, but actually you're a boy. Do you want to go? Do you want to just be what you were born? That's the question there. But how did this end up? Again, because it was taught in college for years after this. It's still why gender theory is taught. It's still why gender studies exist. It is based on a lie. Well, David's brother Brian became schizophrenic, overdosed on antidepressants. He died. David then himself blew his head off with a sawed-off shotgun. By the way, that's not a cry for help. That's someone with some follow-through. That's someone who wanted out. Let's be really clear about this. You wonder why the trans suicide rate is so high. It is literally based on the figurative petri dish of trans studies.
Yeah.
The hypothesis was tested in a controlled lab. Okay, 2 twins, raise one as a boy, raise one as a girl. They said, success! Papers get published, degrees get given out on this topic, and then when one blows his head off with a shotgun and the other ODs, hush, hush, let's not talk about it, because the ends justify the means. But if it's all based on a lie, and then this was taken from the 80s and 90s, postmodernist thinkers, Judith Butler, you probably learned about in college, took this idea based, again, you can read about it, Judith Butler cites money, that gender is a social construct, and then tried to turn that into gender fluidity and infinite number of genders. So that was really only introduced in the 90s. Even John Money, in his screwed up way, still believed that he could turn a boy into a girl and a girl into a boy. It was this pansexual fluidity. This guy who was making kids mount each other and dry hump in Levi's would have thought that was absurd.